On this edition of FedGov Today with Francis Rose, the shutdown is over. The collaboration connection to jumpstart your agency's reopening and data-driven AI success for every agency. Welcome to a special reopening edition of FedGov Today with Francis Rose. Federal agency leaders say the end of the shutdown's turbocharging their collaboration efforts. Agency technology leaders have some really important relationships to nurture, according to Alan Hill. He's the outgoing Chief Information Officer at the Federal Communications Commission. Alan, thanks for joining me today. Last time you and I talked, you said that the acquisition leader in an organization and the Chief Financial Officer in an organization will be the CIO's best friend during this reopening time. How will those relationships be different, in your view, than they were before the shutdown?
Well, I would say from the moving to a 44-day shutdown, you got an opportunity to reset things and how you move forward. And I look at it as three essential questions I would ask my team, also working with the CIO and the CFO. It is what things stop during the shutdown, what things slowed down during the shutdown, and then also what things kept working throughout the shutdown. I think that's essential because where things stopped, that likely required human interaction for those things to move forward. And that's an area where opportunity to look at this to close gaps. There has always been gaps. I don't think the shutdown showed any new gaps, but what it did show where there's opportunity to address things where manual processes are required for the government to function, and that's where technology can help and move into where there's not the reliance on human intervention for those technologies to work.
It gives you some business intelligence that maybe you didn't have or wasn't in your face like it is now in the wake of the shutdown. Is that?
Absolutely. So today's technology, so for agencies that still have things in a data center, and there was a few things still left in a data center at FCC while I was there. 5 systems remain, but 95% is out of the data center in the cloud. One thing is important is to make sure that you can function and provide citizen services without the need of human. And this is where AI and automation comes into play to help be a catalyst for those services to move forward, and working with your CIO and CFO to align the acquisition strategies, the financial budget, and the CIO in terms of the delivery of those mission critical services.
How much difference does it make for the agencies that got appropriated budgets as a result of this deal versus the agencies that just have CRs?
So for agencies that have budgets, they're going to continue to be moving forward, but even with those, they still are impacted. The 44 days shutdown, I would say, is just a quantification of the shutdown, but there's going to be long-lasting effects. Projects that were in flight, moving, that were modernizations were moving forward, those had likely stopped. And from that, you likely potentially have lost people because of that. So the retooling of your staff, the retooling of the vendors that supported those modernization efforts, now you have to reset that and re-baseline. To me, it's an opportunity to focus on what are the real mission services needed and where budgets need to be aligned, and also the acquisition to be aligned to support those future states.
Those 3 assessments that you listed earlier, what stopped, what slowed down, and what kept going, would you advise a CIO to respond differently based on which of those categories something fits into, or based on the risk management framework of the agency, or based on the importance of the program to delivering on mission? How does one go about maybe plotting those to determine what to attack or what to triage first?
So what I would do in this role, I would show those to the heads of the agencies and let the heads of the agencies help prioritize what's most important. In the case of things that have stopped, to me, this is an opportunity to retool, to energize the next 18 months. It lays out your roadmap for the next 18 months to modernize. You want to eliminate the need of human action for services to continue during any type of disruption. And by doing that, that will lay a path moving forward. But then from the things that are working, those are lessons learned, so where you can reconstitute those things across other applications in the network.
How important is an after-action report type document or repository of information to understand what happened, where things fit among those three areas, and how one responded, to be able to kind of have a library of information?
So I think it helps you identify where there's low-hanging fruit of things that you can do now today. Other things, for example, you might have systems that are in the data center that you cannot scale that quickly to modernize them to get them ready to go. But where you have things that are cloud ready, you might need to re-architect things. Those things could be just changing the technology. I'll give an example. Using infrastructure as a service, platform as a service is the old way of using technologies in the cloud. Now you have serverless environments. If I use a serverless environment, I am not worried about that infrastructure I have to maintain in the cloud, because the cloud provider's providing that. So to me, it helps me figure out the quick wins and those that require a lot more planning.
I mentioned that some agencies have appropriated bills, some agencies are under a CR. I hate to be a negative Ned, but those agencies that are under the CR are already telling me, we're thinking about having to go through this again in January. What's the groundwork that one can lay now in the unfortunate circumstance that we're looking at this possibility again in January?
So I would look at it from the perspective of where there is opportunity to have quick wins, take those cost avoidance and recapitalize those into other investments to move forward. At FCC, there was not net new dollars in those modernization efforts to get it out of the data center. It was taking cost savings, reducing licenses, reducing outdated technology, a third of the infrastructure eliminated, taking that, recapitalize that in cloud services. You will slow down, but that doesn't, because of CR doesn't mean you can't move forward.
Mm-hmm. What are the things at the FCC that you think that you did that lay the groundwork for that kind of a gain?
The first thing is looking from the landscape of the entire enterprise and how we could collapse things. For example, we had 97 different systems that we collapsed down to using 50 license vice 97 licenses. That where you can recapitalize things and not have to redo things using the same old like for like approach. To me, that is the short wins that you can put into place. Even your network, and collapsing your network, and how it is a third of the infrastructure was eliminated because it was redundant in nature. It was not necessary. In addition, the resilience by moving to the cloud, eliminating tech debt. That is an agency's kryptonite. Mm-hmm. It is the worst thing that you can have on your network, because it takes a lot more hands on the keyboards to keep the technology moving. And when the shutdown will probably show where these systems, and trying to bring them back up again and be able to bring the services, those are things that you want to expedite in the next 18 months.
Do you expect to see a round of kind of broken stuff as some of these applications and systems try to come back up and they don't work as well as people anticipate?
There is always that. Even when I first came to FCC, I was like, well, why is these systems not rebooted? They've been sitting here for a year, 2 years, not rebooted, and they were concerned about them coming up. Mm-hmm. That's a valid concern. To me, I said, we're going to work through those things and make sure we have maintenance time down to make sure that we understand that if something happens, if there's power loss or anything like that, they can reconstitute. But more importantly, we need to move out of those data centers, get to the cloud, get out of that CapEx approach to how we support modernization, get to an OpEx to where modernization occurs all the time, not waiting for the next budget cycle and where CRs can disrupt those modernization efforts.
Which takes us back to the beginning of the conversation, and I guess reinforces the reason that the CFO is so important to be joined at the hip for the next several months.
Absolutely. Both the CIO and CFO are critical in this, because in 44 days you will have projects that have stopped. Well, what happens? That kicks it down the road. Those projects, those 44 days that you lost, in addition, you might have just trying to get staff back in because a partner that you had in play may have lost staff. So now that kicks down the roads. That means potentially in 26 or 27, you may have a need for extension of acquisition, or you may have a need for additional new funds that you didn't account for because of the shutdown.
What's the best way to measure how an agency rebounds from this situation, Alan?
I would say the first thing is actually road mapping things, laying a clear picture so that the heads of the agency can see exactly what needs to happen. I know when I left FCC, one of the things I did is made sure I briefed the chairman out exactly where we're going, what needs to be done, and what things in his priorities that can be achieved immediately, and what things require more planning. And to me, laying that down to where you have clear vision, a clear strategy, and be able to align your CFO, CIO, and CIO to address those things short and long term.
Exit interview type question for you as we wrap up. What did you not get done, not complete at FCC that you wish you could have stuck around to see the end of?
It would have been the last 5 remaining systems, getting them out of the data center. They are on the cuffs of getting them out. I expect here, early January, February timeframe, them getting out. But once out of that data center into the cloud, modernization is unlimited. Being able to deliver services and scale at a faster rate. Years become months become days by using the technology available in the cloud.
It's great to have you on the program, Alan. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
You can read more about the technology restart after the shutdown on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, data-driven AI success for every agency. FedGov Today with Francis Rose continues in a moment.